is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Vegas 78. We have Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Vicente Luque. We are back in the Apex for a first time in a couple weeks, and I think after this Apex card, we won't be back in the Apex for a while. So, yeah, back in the Apex, which always does tend to lead to more violence, which I'm excited about. But yeah, overall, the card as a whole, not a ton of name value. I think there's some fun matchups. I think there's some horrible matchups. Like we got to watch Martin Buday fight, which is never exciting. But there are Terrence McKinney's on the card. He's always fun for the first 2 minutes. So yeah, solid card overall. Not the best in the world, but we are here as always on a Sunday, and we are here with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to UFC Vegas 78?
Yeah, a lot lower level than the last couple of cards that we've seen here, for sure. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel of a lot of these divisions here to get to put this together. But this is an Apex card. This is what the UFC does. This is the UFC not trying. This is them putting together, fulfilling their contractual obligations. They put one good fight on the card, and then the rest of it is pretty much all trash. So, but, it's the cards where we make money, Brady. Those are the ones that we remember. Those are the ones where we have the most fun. And yeah, some of these fights could turn out to be real fun. We've got some fun prospects. Juliana Miller, Jacqueline Amarim, Isaac Dulgarian. We got McKinney on the card. We got that kid McGhee that got the finish over Newsom. And, Chris Daukaus making his 205-pound debut. So let's find the spots that stick out so that we can stack some tickets here, make some money, because god damn, I got a hole to dig myself out of after last night.
Yeah, we'll touch on last night real quick. I'll start this one off, and I agree with Silly. This is the story of my night last night, where submissions that were locked in yet somehow couldn't be finished. It's a night where I felt like the reads were pretty solid. I felt like the process was there, but the results just didn't fall for me. So I actually kicked off the night with a very good hit. I had a half unit shot on Almabayev inside the distance, plus 240. I wasn't going to bet that fight, but seeing Almabayev inside the distance at a crazy number was wild. So I put a half unit on that. I also bet the fight ends by sub in the Almabayev fight, half unit plus 260. So started off the night, couldn't have been happier with the start. And then it just went all downhill from there. I had 1.5 units on the Billy Q. Fight doesn't go the distance. Got it at minus 145. Weezy, it closed at minus 190. So you already know I get to hold up the CLV trophy, the closing line values. I ordered this off of Amazon. I was very drunk after 291 after a big night, and I ended up just buying. I bought this trophy. I bought a Liang Na wig. What else? What else the hell did I buy? But I bought everything.
The treadmill?
I bought a treadmill, a desk. I've been doing tape study on a treadmill desk nowadays. So, yeah, moral of the story, don't go on Amazon when you are very drunk after a good night. But this is heavy duty, man. Like, I was expecting like a little toy trophy. This is heavy. This is nice. So I'm going to hold this up with pride after losing that Billy Quarantillo. Fight doesn't go to decision there. Minus 145. Cash that CLV. And then I had this was my night, man. If Cody Durden taps, man, it's a winning night right there. Jake Hadley inside the distance, plus 130. It was right there. It was right there. I'm actually shocked that this didn't hit. It played out just how I wanted it. I thought Durden would be the minute winner. He clearly was, but I thought it would be Jake Hadley the moment winner. And I thought Jake Hadley would win by submission at some point. And man, were there a couple opportunities, especially that armbar that was just so deep. Cody Durden was wincing. He didn't tap. So shout out to Durden, showed a ton of toughness, but that was kind of my night right there. And then this one hurt as well. So I had the Jeremiah Wells, Carlston Harris, the under 1.5 in the fight won't start round 3. The fight ended up finishing in like the first minute of the third round. I was not expecting the fight to play out like that at all. And Jeremiah Wells did have like a tight submission in on Carlston Harris. I didn't think he was finishing that though. And then Carlston Harris was able to get a submission on Jeremiah Wells in that third round. A couple minutes too late for me. What else happened last night? Let's see. Oh, and then my night kind of turned around a little bit. I had a 1 unit bet on Diego Lopez inside the distance, plus 130. That was very nice. Shout out to Diego Lopez for an incredible submission win against a black belt, and Gavin Tucker submitting him in like a minute 30. And then I had Tatiana Suarez inside the distance. This is like my least favorite bet, Weezy. I felt like this was the squarest bet possible, laying minus 140 on a strawweight to finish. But it was kind of the most easiest cash of the night. Jessica Andrade, although I'm a very big Jessica Andrade fan, she didn't show up. She got outlanded like 3-1 in the first round by Tatiana Suarez. And my hypothesis was correct. Weezy, I said Jessica Andrade is just showing up for a paycheck at this point, and that's exactly what it looked like. She mailed it in from the jump, it looked like. Terrible performance from Jessica Andrade. She's on a 3-fight skid. Hopefully they give her somebody a lot easier than a Suarez or a Blanchfield next fight. And then this one probably was one of the most frustrating ones just because of how the fight played out. I was very, very confident in Corey Sandhagen. I was tempted to max bet Corey Sandhagen. The only reason I didn't was because by the time I taped it, the line already moved like more than $1. And at that point, it's like, you already missed the line. I even thought about, parlaying Sandhagen up, but there wasn't really, many parlay pieces I liked on the card. I was thinking about the minus 5.5 point spread for Corey Sandhagen, which would have hit, but I ended up playing Corey Sandhagen inside the distance. And just shocked to say the least about how that fight played out. Corey Sandhagen, 20 minutes of control time. Rob Font, one of the most highest volume strikers in the division, landing 9 significant strikes in the entire fight. I mean, that was just shocking to me. And it's another case where Rob Font just didn't show up. Rob Font didn't want to be there. He was content to lose every single second of that fight. Just play off his back and just lose every single minute, just not trying to get up. Rob Font clearly didn't want to fight last night, but congratulations, Rob Font. You got your check and you saved the main event, but not really. I mean, that main event was rough to watch. And then to add insult to injury, Weezy, Corey Sandhagen, late 5th round, has a deep, deep submission. I think it was maybe a Darce. It was so tight. I thought, and then Rob Font didn't tap. Like, why? You don't want to be here, Rob Font. Corey Sandhagen showing you the door. You don't want to be here to begin with. Why not tap? So, ended up being a -2 unit night, which I feel like it easily could have been a winning night had a couple other outcomes gone the other way. But as I always say, got to try to keep the losses small, and that's what happened last night. But just the frustrating, I hate when stuff like that happens where, it's right there, but it doesn't come through. Weezy, I know you didn't have the best night as well. Go in and talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally the worst night I've ever had since I started tracking bets, my first ever reverse sweep. And, and I was on a lot of those same bets as you. I got my closing line trophy for getting the under 2.5 rounds in the Quarantillo-Jackson fight at -105. It closed at like, -150. That was, and it probably should have hit, but it didn't. And then I had the under 1.5 rounds in the Wells-Harris fight. And Wells had a Harris in a Darce for like 3 straight minutes. I can't believe Harris didn't tap. So that one didn't hit as well. I had a 1-unit parlay with the Billy Quarantillo money line, parlayed with the Kennedy and Nchukwi money line. Yeah, that Nchukwi money line did not happen. Oh, well, that was down 1 unit. And then I had a 5-unit max bet on the Kennedy and Nchukwi money line. And I said it on my show. I was like, look, he's going to pressure. He's going to be better in the clinch. He's the better wrestler. He's younger. He's taller. He's longer. He's got more powerful. But Dustin might catch him coming in, might drop Kennedy, and then the referee might stop it too soon. And that's exactly what happened. Dustin Jacoby was 0 for 7 on his ground strikes. And then Gary Coleman comes in and stops the fight. I mean, Gary Copeland. Gary Coleman's way taller than Gary Copeland. But yeah, it was a rough stoppage, but I knew it. I knew that there was definitely a chance that Justin Jacoby, the sniper of a kickboxer that he is, was going to be able to catch Kennedy coming in. But I'll make that bet again. I really did think that Kennedy is the better fighter everywhere. He got caught. The fight got stopped too soon. That's the game we play. My string of 6 straight max bets cashing comes to a horrific end, down 8.05 units, Brady. But still, I was up 6.5 the last card. So it's like I'm down 1.5 units over the last 2 cards. Nothing that's going to absolutely ruin the year here, but got to get some of it back starting this week. So let's find some spots. Let's figure out some ways to stack some tickets here for the audience here on Pub Sports Radio. Thank all of you guys for joining in. Got a decent card to talk about, but it'll be a lot better, Brady, if we win some money on it.
100%. And yeah, there were some weird performances last night. Like I wasn't expecting Ludovic Klein
Yeah.
to 30-27 Ignacio Bahamondes. Like that was just wild to me. Bahamondes landing only 43 significant strikes. It reminded you of Jamal Pogues in London. Speaking of London, me and Weezy were talking about. It felt like a London card, last night
Yeah.
with not a ton of violence happening. Only
Yeah.
one knockout the entire card.
It felt like that because in London cards, you expect 9 finishes and you get 2. And you're like, what the hell just happened? How did those fights not finish? And then it was the same thing here. Billy Quarantillo goes the distance with Damon Jackson. The Harris Wells fight, like that did that go over 2.5? I know it went into the third.
Close.
Yeah. I mean, like, dude, like some fights that you just really didn't expect. Deep submissions where people aren't tapping. Cody Durden, Rob Font, Carlston Harris. And like even Jeremiah Wells didn't tap. He had to go out. He had to be put to sleep for that fight to end. So, yeah, a lot of really gritty, gutty performance. Dude, Cody Durden, stand up. What a fucking performance that was by Cody Durden, man. God, God bless that kid. He is tough. He's a gamer. Short notice, against a stud in Hadley. And Hadley said that he saw God while he was cutting weight. He was having such a bad weight cut.
Yeah.
And then he said he didn't rehydrate properly. So obviously, it was definitely a wild night of fights. But yeah, just didn't go my way. But we just got to bounce back. That's what we do.
Yep, absolutely. But enough of UFC London. I mean, UFC Nashville. I say we get into this card, UFC Vegas 78. And we're going to kick it off with Juliana Miller going against Luana Santos. I was going to say Killer. I like her nickname, but after last performance, that's not happening. I mean, a killer doesn't go out there and get dominated by Veronica Hardy. So it's Juliana Miller, no nickname. She's 27 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Luana Santos, 23 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Luana Santos is 4 years younger. Luana Santos is going to be at a 1-inch height disadvantage, but she's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. Juliana Miller is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She beat Brogan Walker Sanchez in third round by TKO, and then she went out there and lost to Veronica Hardy. As far as Luana Santos, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights, and she's going to be making her debut here. So, yeah, I mean, going back and watching the Brogan Walker Sanchez fight, I really thought that, Miller was starting to just really put it all together. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it was like an off night for Brogan Walker Sanchez, because I remember that night where Sanchez and Walker fought, or Sanchez and Miller fought. And I was like, I kind of like Brogan Walker Sanchez here in this matchup. I don't know if it was like an off night for Brogan Walker or what, but she looked bad and she made Juliana Miller look really good. And I think she tricked a lot of us into thinking, Juliana Miller is legit. I still think she has a long way to go. Can she, make improvements? Yeah, sure she can. She's 27 years old, but she just has a lot to work on, Weezy. I mean, her striking defense is, I can't think of someone with worse striking defense. I mean, I really can't. I think on paper it's like 31%. Her wrestling is not great. When she gets on top, she's very dangerous, but just everything else is pretty bad. Yeah, this is one where I need to look more into. I've taped all fights besides this one, but I know for sure you, Weezy, you taped Luana Santos, so I'm sure you're going to be able to provide some extra insight. But this is the one fight where I just need to look into a little bit more. I saved this one for last because there's just a 99% chance I'm just not betting this fight or potentially even watching this fight. So, Weezy, what did you think of Luana Santos when you ran the tape?
So, I mean, she's all right. She's a judoka, so I don't really love judo as a base for MMA. I'd really rather see somebody have a BJJ base, a striking base, or a wrestling base, because judo is good in certain situations, but a lot of really good techniques for pure judo players are not good for MMA, like the head and arm throw, for instance. And you see Luana Santos go for the head and arm throw over and over and over again. She actually has 2 arm lock finishes from the Kesagatame position, which is something that you don't, it's like when you're on top of your opponent from side control and your right armpit is kind of like resting on them, and you have your arm around their head, and you kind of lock up their right arm. That's the Kesagatame position, and it's a great way to get your back taken when you're not wearing a gi. And we see Montserrat Ruiz go to that throw over and over again, who we're going to talk about in the next fight, and you see Luana Santos do that again. But just really quickly here, Juliana's got 2 more UFC fights and almost 30 more minutes in the octagon, not to mention a stint in the Tough House, a season that she won. So Luana's going to be making her UFC debut here. So we got Miller with the higher level experience advantage. She's a very good grappler, as is Santos. Hard to know who has the advantage, but 5 of their 7 combined pro wins between Miller and Santos are by submission. And I'd lean Juliana Miller for the strength of schedule advantage because she has 2 UFC fights and spent time in the Tough House. So the overall level of competition she fought is better. And Luana Santos, though, she's 4 years younger. She's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. And she's actually got more pro experience than Juliana Miller does. She's got 1 more fight, 14 more minutes in the pro cage. And she's got 6 fights in a 2-year pro career. While for Juliana Miller, it's 5 fights in a 4-year career. So Santos is more experienced overall, and she's been much busier, fighting 3 times a year compared to like 1.25 times a year for Miller. And from what I've seen on tape so far, Luana Santos is going to have a big-time striking advantage here, Brady. Miller, 31.82% distance striking defense. I don't think I've ever seen a number that bad. And it's a 9-minute sample size. It's not like this happened in 45 seconds or 3 minutes. Like she's absorbed 60 distance strikes on only 88 attempts, dude. Like her opponents are landing at like a 68% clip. While the divisional average is around 30. So, I'm sorry, it's like around 39%, but either way, you get the point. This girl she blocks punches with her face, and Luana actually has some decent striking. And so, I kind of like Luana while this fight is on the feet, but the problem is when you watch the Jenna Bishop fight for Luana Santos, Jenna keeps getting to Luana's back. And one time she gets to Luana's back because Luana does what, Brady? Tries the old head and arm throw and immediately gets her back taken. It works in judo, but not in the MMA cage. And then you also saw when Jenna was wrestling, she was able to get her takedown. So my worry here for Santos is that while she will definitely be the better striker here, I think that this is going to be a grappling match. And I've seen Juliana just have a knack for getting to her opponent's back, while Santos seems to give up her back a lot. So I'm kind of leaning Juliana Killer Miller here to get the win, Brady.
What did you just say?
I said Juliana Killer Miller. Look, women's fights, Brady, we know the variance. We know that you just don't lay chalk in women's MMA because they pull stunts constantly. They have things going on in their bodies that our bodies couldn't possibly understand, Brady. I don't know if you got taught about any of this stuff yet, but it's a mess down there for women. Every month something's happening, right? So every once in a while you will have somebody go out there and just give a very uncharacteristic performance. What I like to call the Khalil Rountree in Abu Dhabi performance, when he went out there and just shit his pants against Marcin Prachnio. We see those bad performances in women's MMA a lot more, and maybe we just chalk it up to it. Was that fight on Fight Island?
No.
Damn it. Okay. Damn it. All right. Well, maybe not Killer then, but yeah.
It was in London, which is even worse.
Oh yeah, and Juliana's not from London, so maybe it was just the flight, whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know, but maybe she bounces back here. But Luana's the way better striker, and I just didn't like seeing Luana get her back taken in all 3 rounds against Jenna Bishop. That's a problem for me. You give up your back to Juliana Miller, you're going to lose the round and maybe the fight.
Yeah, it definitely could be a buy low spot here on Miller, who is now plus 120. So from like a market perspective, she was just like a minus 300 something favorite in her last fight.
Yeah.
And people obviously got burnt. I don't know if I don't know who would parlay Juliana Miller, but I'm sure a bunch of people did, and they got burned. And now we are getting her at an underdog price tag in a fight where, a path to victory is there. So yeah, I agree. I still don't agree with the killer. I mean, if you're getting 30-27 by Veronica Hardy, I can't call you a killer, but she could be live with this number. So I don't know if I'll bet it. I want to dig in a little bit more on Luana Santos, but we could absolutely have a live dog in our hands here.
Potentially, yeah. And when you look at it from just a purely price perspective, yeah, it's a lot of recency bias in this line. So we'll see how it all goes, though. But yeah, the problem with betting on a debutante too that's a favorite is you might get that adrenaline dump. And we're going to be talking about Jacqueline Amorim. So let's talk more about adrenaline dumps here, because it's a thing for debuting fighters, especially Brady, when you've never been out of the first round in your career. And then the first time that it happens is in front of a live crowd in the UFC octagon. The potential for that adrenaline dump is huge. And that might be something that we see from Luana Santos, even though we have seen her go to decision a couple of times as a pro.
Yeah. Oh, and Dixon is talking about OnlyFans. I don't think Miller has an OnlyFans. Does she?
I don't know if either of these ladies do. But
so. I know Jessica Andrade does or did.
Yeah, she shut it down, Brady. I think it was actually shut down by the Brazilian government, and they were urged by several other governments. Look, this has got to stop and stop now. And I think they got Bolsonaro on the phone, and he called the Andrades and was like, "Look, you got to shut it down. This isn't my choice. It just has to happen."
Yeah, I'm glad. Oh, and by the way, Dixon can't confirm he's actually subscribed. So
So Killer Miller's got an OnlyFans. I didn't even know that, dude. I didn't even know that. Well,
it's real.
We're gonna have to take Dixon's word for it, aren't we, Brady?
Gonna have to. I did check the Instagram. I didn't see much of OnlyFans, but maybe I didn't dig hard enough there. So shout out to. Is she? My goodness, Dixon. All right. Let's move on to the next fight then. I don't know if there might be some OnlyFans involved in this one. We got Jacqueline Amorim going against Montserrat Ruiz. We have Jacqueline Amorim, 20 years old, 5'3" with a 67.5-inch reach. Montserrat Ruiz, 30 years old, 5 foot with a 61-inch reach. We have Amorim, 2 years younger, much bigger with a 3-inch height advantage and a 6.5-inch reach advantage. Jacqueline Amorim, 4-1 in her last 5 fights, made her debut against Sam Hughes, lost that fight by decision. Montserrat Ruiz, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Cheyenne Vlismus, won that fight by decision, and then lost by knockout to Amanda Lemos. Yeah, Jacqueline Amorim is another fighter who was a massive favorite in her debut, and she came in there against Sam Hughes, and she lost the fight. It was the first, like you said, Weezy, the first time she was out of the first round, but I went back and watched the fight, and Sam Hughes cheated so bad. Like there were people posting clips and stuff, and you can even go back and watch it. And she's grabbing the glove. So, and the ref's not doing anything about it. I mean, even you can see Amorim like watching the fight. You can see Amorim like telling the ref like she's grabbing the gloves, and it happened on multiple occasions. So if you're Montserrat Ruiz and Amorim takes you down and takes your back, just grab the gloves because there are no consequences. The refs aren't going to do anything about it. So why not cheat and grab the gloves, because cheating is apparently allowed, and I should have cashed my under 2.5 in that fight multiple times. So Sam Hughes is a cheater, but she was able to get the win. And yeah, that was like Amorim looked pretty bad after the fight went to the second round. It looked like that was like the very first time she's ever been hit in the face, because she really hasn't been prior to the Sam Hughes fight. And she didn't look good, but, she's very good in the first 5 minutes. Her grappling is just incredible. We saw it in the Hughes fight. She should have got a submission. Her wrestling is even not bad at all. She's able to get fights down to the mat. She's going to be the bigger fighter here. I'm still, pretty high on Amorim, but, what my concern is if this fight does get into the second round, obviously. So the problem I do have, though, Weezy, is this price tag. Jacqueline Amorim is sitting... Oh, it's come down a lot, but last time I checked, she was like minus 300.
Yeah.
But this line has came down. She's now minus 225 here, which still I'm not too excited about. I guess I'll forgive her for the Sam Hughes performance. And like I said, I think she should have won that fight by submission if Sam Hughes didn't cheat. But yeah, I'll say that Amorim does get the fight down to the mat, and I think her ground game is just going to be on a different level. And I'll say she gets the first round finish, but I'm not touching the minus 225. If anything, it's probably the first round prop for Amorim. All of her wins come in the first round, all submissions, and then one knockout. I think it was maybe a head kick as well. So I'll say Amorim first round sub, but yeah, minus 225 does not tickle my fancy.
Yeah, I mean, Amorim round 1 is what I'm going to be looking at here. Probably an Amorim round 1 sub, but maybe I might just do the round 1 just in case it's a positional knockout on the ground. She's phenomenal, Amorim. But we talked about the adrenaline dump. This is something that happens, everybody, especially when somebody hasn't been out of the first round and then you're making that UFC debut, and that's exactly what happened to Jacqueline. You know, even don't think that that's a conditioning problem, because Jacqueline was on Sam Hughes's back for the entire first round. She didn't get tired. She had what's called an adrenaline dump. The body just doesn't work because you get so emotionally charged up and your adrenal glands go nuts. It drives you. It gives you all the energy that you need. But once the adrenaline is gone, it's gone. The body, it takes a lot of time for that to be replenished. And then the energy's gone. And that's what happened, you know? So I don't think we're going to necessarily see a conditioning problem here from Amorim. She trains an American Top Team. You know, she wrestles. She's got really, really, really high-level jiu-jitsu. When you go and you look at the Tapology, every submission that she gets is something different. It's not like she's just getting rear naked chokes. She's getting knee bars. She's getting arm triangles. She's getting arm bars. Rear naked chokes too, you know. She's much, much, much better than Montserrat Ruiz. And what's Ruiz's move? Head and arm throw. Yeah, works in wrestling, works in judo when you're wearing a gi. When you got a second degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, you're going to get your back taken and you're going to get choked. You're going to get choked out. So yeah, Amorim's younger. She's got a 6.5-inch reach advantage. She's 3 inches taller, and she's just much, much higher ceiling in terms of what we can expect from her in terms of growing into her mixed martial arts game. Ruiz at 30 years old, 5 feet tall with only a 61-inch reach. She's kind of a finished product at this point. So, yeah, I think Amorim's going to make this look easy, Brady. I think it's a first-round submission, and I'll be going back to the well with it, hopefully getting a much better price than we'll get next time after she shaves the ass of Montserrat.
Isn't Ruiz the one that wears the little bunny tail?
Yep.
Maybe she can shave that bunny tail off instead of the ass hair.
Yeah, something like that. I don't think there's really any hair there, you know, but it's a figurative ass shaving, if anything, really. But yeah, I really like Jacqueline Amorim in this spot.
Yeah, no, I'm checking Amorim's Instagram right now, and I can confirm there is no ass hair there. So I don't think Ruiz is going to do any ass shaving.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, figuratively shaving the ass.
Okay, so I was confused.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so yeah, I'm right there with you. First round finish, first round prop for Amorim, which sounds crazy because this is a strawweight fight, but I mean she's legit on the map.
Very, very good, very good, and still only 28 years old, so I think she's still going to get better. She's only been a pro, Brady, for less than 3 years.
Yep, she's legit. All right, let's take these strawweights and let's add on 150 pounds, and let's go to Josh Parisian going against Martin Buday. Josh Parisian, 34 years old, 6'4", with a 79-inch reach. Martin Buday, 31 years old, 6'4", with a 77-inch reach. Martin Buday, 3 years younger, same height, and Parisian with a 2-inch reach advantage. So Josh Parisian, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss to Parker Porter. Decision win against Roy Martinez, a knockout loss to Dontel Mays, a knockout win against Alain Badeau, a decision loss to Jamal Pogues. As far as Martin Buday, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Chris Barnett, won that by decision. Prior to that, he got a Contender Series knockout, I think early second round. A decision win against Lucas Bresky in a fight that he lost, and then the worst fight ever against Jake Collier. Yeah, Weezy. I mean, this is a terrible fight. I mean, Martin Buday, all of his fights have sucked. I mean, this guy's boring, man. At least Parisian, he's terrible. He's terrible, but he's exciting. You know, he's going to go out there, very flashy stuff. You know, some spinning back fist, some flying kicks. Whereas Martin Buday is going to do one thing and one thing only, and that's pretty much just hold you against the cage. I think Martin Buday could make this look so easy if he did this one thing. And this one thing is go for a takedown, dude. Like what are you doing? Martin Buday is getting all this control time. He's pushing his opponents against the cage, and it works a lot. But why not get a takedown? Like outside the UFC, I've seen him get a takedown, get on top, and finish fights. He has a good ground game. He's very heavy on top. He's a brown belt in BJJ, but in the UFC, he refuses to wrestle. If I knew Martin Buday would wrestle here, I'd max bet him. Josh Parisian, he made Dontel Mays look like Curtis Blades, looked like Jilton Almeida out there. Dontel Mays was ragdolling Josh Parisian. And if Martin Buday can take Parisian down and get on top, he will finish this fight easily. It's just, that hasn't been, anything Martin Buday wants to do. I mean, 0 takedowns attempted. So if it turns out Martin Buday's game plan is going to be to make this as boring as possible, hold Parisian against the cage, I think he still probably does win. And it is going to be a terrible fight. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than it really should be. But like I said, if Martin Buday goes for a takedown for once in his life, I think he makes it look easy. I think what's more interesting about this fight, Weezy, is a potential buddy cop show, maybe to pitch to Netflix. I feel like these two would work really well together on scene.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a couple of, the twin towers, 6'4" apiece, 79-inch reach for Parisian, 77 for Buday. And yeah, both of them slower than molasses in January, so the cops would always get away unless they were actually running people over with their cop vehicle. Yeah, these guys, I don't know about these guys, Brady. Let's talk numbers first. Josh has got a 2-inch reach advantage. Other than that, these guys are the same size. Josh has the pro and the UFC experience advantages here, 8 more pro fights, 50 more minutes in the pro cage, 1 more year as a pro fighter for Parisian. He's also got 2 more UFC fights and 25 more minutes of octagon time. And he's been the better finisher as a pro. He's got a 93% finish rate, does Parisian, and 15 pro wins, while for Buday it's 64%. And Josh has finished 1 of his 2 UFC wins inside the distance, and Martin has 0 finishes and 3 UFC wins. And Josh's striking metrics, I mean, they're a little bit better than Martin's, but both of them are pretty bad. Josh's got a positive 0.03 distance strike differential. It's negative 1.8 for Buday. And Josh stays a lot busier on the feet as he's got a positive 2.37 distance strike attempt differential, while for Buday it's negative 4.49. So Josh will be the busier guy at distance, throwing those spinning fat kicks and the spinning fat fists and a lot more kicks than Buday throws. And Josh is more active in the grappling because he's attempted a takedown before. We've got 15 takedown attempts from Josh Parisian, 0 from Martin Buday. Just absolutely fucking perplexing. It's unbelievable. This guy, I bet 4.5 units, Brady, on the Martin Buday money line against Lucas Bresky. And I was saying, Bresky's off the PEDs. He's 4 inches shorter. He's 30 pounds lighter. And Buday is just going to put him up against the cage and torture him. And he stands at range and willingly boxes with the dude and gets out-volumed for the entire fight and then wins a miracle decision that he didn't deserve. This guy has got tools in his toolbox that he refuses to use. And what is he? He's the favorite, Brady. Look, he's 2.5 years younger than Josh Parisian. We like that. He seems to be the more efficient minute winner as a professional, does Buday, as he's 4-1 in decisions, while Parisian is 1-3. And Josh has been the busier striker at range, but it's Buday who's landed with a little bit more power. He's got a knockdown while Josh has 0, and he boasts a superior striking defense at range at 58% compared to only 50% for Parisian. And Buday's a huge heavyweight. And even though he doesn't wrestle, he's efficient winning minutes in the clinch. And for what it's worth, he's a decorated BJJ player. Like you said, he's a brown belt. Martin is winning 67% of the control time positions that his fights have been in, even though they're mostly up against the cage. While for Parisian, he only wins 26% of the control time positions that he's in. And I actually like Martin Buday's strength of schedule better. They have similar metrics overall, but Buday's wins over Fat Barnett, Lucas Bresky, and Fat Collier, they're better wins than Josh Parisian's, who's got a win over Fat Martinez and Alan Badeau, and they've got a combined 0-7 UFC record between Roque Martinez and Alan Badeau. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about Buday here. He's definitely got more ways to win this fight, but don't be fucking surprised if you lay juice on this guy and he goes out there and decides to range box with Parisian and he gets hit with a couple of spinning fat kicks in each round and winds up losing on the scorecards. So don't say we didn't warn you on this. Buday is fucking maddening. If he used all the tools in his toolbox, Brady, he'd be worth laying this kind of juice on in this spot. I think he's better than Parisian just about everywhere. He's younger. I think he's like the bigger dude. I think he's got more muscle on his frame than Parisian does. But yeah, he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything that you really want him to do. He seems willing to fight his opponent's fight, and that's a bad strategy at this level when you're trying to win fights.
Yeah, he said, I mean, if Buday could use all his tools, sure, I would. I probably still wouldn't lay minus 190 because that just sounds disgusting. But yeah, sure, he'll go out there and pay off that price tag. But yeah, Buday is minus 190, and I could see it now, easy. I'm laying minus 190 on Martin Buday. Very excited. I don't know if I'm excited about it, but confident in it. And then fight night comes around, and then he goes out there and strikes at range for 15 minutes with this guy, because that's what he did in the Bresky fight. Like what? Like that was he took the worst game plan possible and implemented the worst game plan possible, and he still won the fight. But it's more so because the judges sucked. But if he does that, I mean, he could lose this fight because Parisian does have some spinning attacks and solid volume. But yeah, I'll pick Martin Buday for the sake of it, but you will not see me betting on this fight here. And Mushroom saying they could be undercover in an ice cream truck. I could see it, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh god, it could be called like diabetes cops, because both of these guys are probably at least pre-diabetic. They're big boys,
What?
That's the truth, Brady. I mean, like, you look at a guy like Khalil, for instance, I mean, like, yeah, the guy's probably got diabetes, and that's why he doesn't turn it up when he needs to turn it up in fights, and why he's coming out on the wrong end of these decisions that, like he just did against Buday, So, yeah, man, maybe they could be like two guys, and like we could see them like fight diabetes and fight crime at the same time. It would be an interesting Netflix show, but Parisian's people aren't calling my people back, and I don't know why that is. Vice Cream says Mushroom MMA. Yes.
I like it, dude. And by the way, the new Josh Parisian hype video just dropped, and I'm excited to share it with the audience here.
Yes, let's go.
Here we go. Can't play the music, but
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, boom, 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 and watch how tired he is after these.
yeah, man. I'd be tired too, man.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's
not easy to do that.
No,
to bash dudes' faces in.
That's what I wish Martin Buday would do to Josh Parisian. Get on top and do that.
Yeah, man, that's his path, but you just can't count on it. The guy's got 0 takedowns attempts. 0 takedown attempts in over 41 minutes of UFC cage time. It's not like you're like, oh, well, he's fighting these Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts. What? Fat Barnett? Lucas Bresky? Fat Collier? If you're not willing to take those guys down, I mean, I don't think he's going to try to take Parisian down.
And I actually can play music that is on StreamYard. So let's see if I can.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear it.
Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, it's dope. It's dope. It's like
I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey. Dude,
get my glow sticks out, man. Get my glow sticks out.
I'm so pumped up. I'm gonna
grinding my jaw. Give me another hit.
Run through a wall right now. I want to run through a wall. I'm so fired up, dude.
Let's go. Parisian plus money. Book it, you hoes. He's gonna do it. Look at those elbows. Look at those hammer fists. That's Buday's face. That's not a red pad. Yes. Let's go. This is the rest of the show, by the way. We're not even breaking down the rest of the show.
Why would we? Why would we do the rest of the show? Why would we? I'm putting all the units on Josh Parisian.
Let's go.
As many units as possible that I can come up with. They're going on
shaving of the week, plus money bet of the week, underdog of the week. It's going to happen, you guys. Look at him. He's ready to go. Scorpion fighting system. Stand up.
Let's go. I am ready. No, I'm not laying any units on this fight, and I think we should definitely move on.
Let's move on.
That was probably my favorite moment in Stat Digger's history. Moving on to Francis Marshall going against Isaac Dalgarian. We got Marshall, 24 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. We got Isaac Dalgarian, 27 years old, 5'7" here. We have Dalgarian, 3 years older, 2-inch height disadvantage, not sure on the reach there. Francis Marshall, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Marcelo Rojo, won that fight by knockout. He did have a dominant Contender Series win. And then he lost to William Gomi in the next fight after that. We'll talk more about that fight. Isaac Dalgarian, 5-0 in his only 5 fights. So, yeah, Weezy, I went and taped Isaac Dalgarian, and it took about 5 minutes. I mean, This guy gets in, and he reminded me a lot of, like, Terrence McKinney. Like, he is going out there. 5 seconds later, he's taking somebody down. A second later, he's in the mount, and he's either pounding you out or he's getting the sub. The problem is he is fighting very, very questionable competition. There's a lot of unknowns in this fight, on the Dalgarian side. Dalgarian, we've never seen him in a second round. Like, even he has a little bit of an amateur career. We've never seen him in a second round. So it's great. He's going out there and he's starching these lower level guys. But is he going to starch, Francis Marshall, who I do think is a UFC caliber fighter? And if not, what does he look like in the second and God forbid the third round, right? So it's actually a close-ish line. Like, there's money coming in on Dalgarian, and I kind of get it. I think people might be very low on Francis Marshall in his last fight against William Gomi, where quite frankly, he just didn't show up. Francis Marshall decided to start fighting with 2 minutes left in the fight. He took off the first round, he took off the second round, and then he took off, 2.5 minutes of the third round. And then once he started fighting in that late third round, he looked good, Weezy. He almost got a couple submissions on William Gomi. But it was just way too late. So I would like to see him start a lot earlier, which it's weird. He typically does. I'm not sure if that was in Abu Dhabi or, in London, or I
think it was London or France, right? Because it was Gomi, who's a French fighter. So I think it was in Europe. So it might have been the first time he had to travel out of the country to fight.
Yeah, I know it was something like that. Because he just looked like he never fights like that. He's somebody that typically, fights pretty quickly as well. And yeah, that was the Blades Pavlovich fight. So it's actually in Vegas.
Oh, it was, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my bad. Yeah, I kind of just assumed because it was Gomi that it would have been in Europe. But yeah, I think one of Gomi's fights was in Europe.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I mean, I think an interesting look in this fight is like the under, considering Dalgarian's not even been to like half of the first round ever. So I kind of feel like it's Dalgarian early on. If he's not able to starch Francis Marshall, I'm assuming he falls off a cliff, but we really don't have any information to back that up. So this is a fight that probably should be passed on just because there's no information. I'm sure we'll find out some information here unless Dalgarian starches Marshall. But again, I don't know if that's the most likely scenario here. Marshall, I think he's going to probably have a massive striking advantage just because Dalgarian, I don't think I've seen him throw a punch ever. He's just getting guys down to the mat, and he looks good. It's just, I don't know if he's doing that to Francis Marshall. I'll take Marshall, probably second round submission or knockout. I'll say he weathers an early storm here, but a storm he will have to weather because Dalgarian does go after it like a complete madman in the first couple minutes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he just dick saws every video that you have of Dalgarian. He's just destroying whatever meth head or dock worker, I mean, just a cab driver. These guys that he's beating, they're very, very, very low level. But my God, is he doing his job? I mean, you could talk all you want about the strength of schedule. Dalgarian shows these guys no respect, and he goes through them like a hot knife through butter. And I mean, In the Jesse Ebrecht fight, Bulgarian takes him down, gets on top of him, pounds his head through the canvas, and then actually stops and looks up at the referee, goes, come on, man. And then he reaches back, goes for one more, and then the ref's like, okay, it's over. You know, I mean, like, he's actually telling the referee, just stop the fight. This guy shouldn't be in here with me. You know, so, but like you said, we're missing so much information on Isaac Bulgarian. What does he look like in a second round? We don't know. No information. What does his striking look like? We don't know. No information. What happens if he can't take down his opponent? We don't know. No information. But we got all that information on Francis Marshall already, don't we? We know that kid can wrestle. We know that this kid's been training with Kurt Pellegrino for the last 10 years, and he's only 24. So boxing background, wrestling background, Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. I mean, so he's a very well-rounded, very young mixed martial artist at only 24. So we just have so much more information on Francis Marshall than we do on Bulgarian at this point that I would suggest that if you're on the Bulgarian side, just take him to win in round one, because that's got to be the win condition for him. And I promise you, however good Bulgarian looks in the first, there's a massive probability, Brady, that he looks like absolute trash or like a shadow of himself in that second round. This guy has never been out of the first round as a professional or an amateur. 5 pro fights, 4 amateur fights, never been out of the first round. So the probability that there's an adrenaline dump or a conditioning issue is probably like 75 to 90%. And not only that, dude, this guy Bulgarian looks like he could be a flyweight. He's tiny. He's really small for the weight class here. So I think he's going to be undersized. We don't know what his striking looks like. We don't know what his conditioning looks like after round one. A ton of missing information. So Bulgarian round one is a way that I would play the Bulgarian side. And I think the line is accurate where it's at. You're laying minus 170 on Francis Marshall. It feels fair to me just because we have so much more information. We know so much more about Francis Marshall. And I don't even know why Bulgarian had to pull out of the last fight. So I don't know if he's coming off some kind of an injury. So yeah, a lot of missing information.
Yeah, definitely a lot of missing information. Maybe this Bulgarian guy is the real deal. If he starts as Marshall in the first round, I mean, that would be very, very impressive. But yeah, money is coming in on Bulgarian. Francis Marshall now minus 159. People taking a shot on the plus money unknown of Bulgarian. And then Bulgarian is plus 139. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds. It looks like money's coming in on the over. Keep it coming. Keep it coming, because I'll be taking a look at the under. I love attacking unders when a guy is not seen like 3 minutes into the first round. It's just something I like to do.
Yeah, and Marshall's got some power, man. In the Dana White Contender Series fight against Connor Matthews, he hit him on skates a couple of times. He knocked out Rojo, you know, and then he really stepped on the gas late in the Gomi fight. And I think that, you know, the thing about Bulgarian is we could take comfort if we're on the Francis Marshall side, that Francis Marshall's camp knows what the fuck they're doing, right? I mean, you know what to expect from this guy. He's not going to range box with you for 15 minutes. This guy's going to be shooting in on takedowns, and you know that. So it's very predictable fight here for Marshall. He's going to have the right game plan, and we'll see how Bulgarian looks at this level, not fighting in FAC, not fighting, you know, the level of competition that he's fought up to this point.
Yeah, Let's Dance saying Marshall's a decision fighter. Tell that to Marcelo Rojo. My goodness, that was a brutal knockout, man.
Yeah.
We are in the small cage. We're back in the Apex, which, like I said, typically leads to more violence. We're not in London, nothing like that. And then there was one more thing I wanted to bring up. I forget, but if I think of it, then I will bring it back up there. All right, Weezy, anything else in this fight, or should we move on to a McKinney fight, which is always fun?
Yeah, let's move on to the McKinney fight, because they really need us to break this one down, don't they?
They do, don't they? All right, Terrence McKinney going against Mike Breeden. We got Terrence McKinney, 28 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach. Mike Breeden, 34 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach. McKinney 6 years younger, same height. McKinney with a 3-inch reach advantage. Terrence McKinney, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A submission win against Farazayam, knockout loss to Drew Dober, submission win against Eric Gonzalez, knockout loss against Ismail Bonfim, submission loss against Nazim Sadikov. As far as Mike Breeden, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights as well. Made his debut against Alexander Hernandez, got starched in 60 seconds, and then lost a decision to Natan Levy. So yeah, I was taping this fight, and at the time, I didn't think the line would be out, but I taped this fight, and I get out of tape, and I'm like, man, this might be a great buy low spot on one Terrence McKinney. People think this guy sucks. I remember on Twitter after the Sadikov fight, people were like, cut McKinney, cut Terrence McKinney. Why? I mean, this guy's fun, Daniel De Silva gets to keep fighting. Why can't Terrence McKinney? I mean, I don't remember ever seeing a boring Terrence McKinney fight, right? So yeah, they're not going to cut Terrence McKinney, and I'm actually happy that he is getting this fight, because this is a very winnable fight, and this will be the most winnable fight of Terrence McKinney's UFC career thus far. I mean, it's a pretty easy matchup for Terrence McKinney, as long as he approaches it kind of how he should, and that is going to be just bull rushing Mike Breeden, just putting it on him. And if he does that, I think he does exactly what Alexander Hernandez does, just clips him in the first couple minutes and puts him out. My concern with Terrence McKinney is in the Sadikov fight. First of all, McKinney's an incredible wrestler, incredible grappler, but he's an incredible wrestler and grappler for about 5 minutes. And my concern is if he goes out there, he takes down Mike Breeden, which he'll be able to. Natan Levy took down Mike Breeden like 10 times. So yeah, if McKinney wants to, he does take down Mike Breeden. But if he doesn't finish Mike Breeden in the first 5 minutes, he's probably getting finished in the second or third. So I looked at the line, and it says McKinney minus 400. I'm like, what? Minus 400 for a guy that, if he doesn't win in the first round, he's probably going to lose. I thought that was pretty ridiculous, but this line is like crashed down throughout the last 24 hours. McKinney's now went from minus 400, where I saw him, to minus 275. So some money is coming in on Mike Breeden. You don't want to lay minus 275 on Terrence McKinney. Why would you? His win condition is literally in the first round in general. And then on top of that, Weezy, he's taken this fight on short notice, which only makes you think that it's definitely got to be in the first round here. So yeah, give me McKinney to starch Mike Breeden. I think it's a very, very winnable matchup for him. I was going to obviously take a look at the under, but oh my gosh, dude.
I know.
Wow. Minus 280 now. It got hammered.
Dude, it was minus 270. Dude, I was going to say it. Minus 275, we're max betting that. At minus 280, though, no, it's too expensive.
Wow. So, yeah. So that's a thing. I mean, we might see the most juiced under 1.5 in UFC history at this point. It's a Sunday, right? Like, this is Sunday, and the under's already at minus 280 with money still coming in on it. So yeah, I mean, McKinney round 1 is going to be minus 200. Weezy, like this is ridiculous. But yeah, McKinney should starch this guy. If you want to be contrarian, Mike Breeden round 2, round 3 props, they could be juicy since he is a big dog. But outside of that, I'm not sure how to really make any money on this fight. But yeah, I think McKinney wins this in probably 60 seconds.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think that he doesn't, look at that distance striking defense on Mike Breeden, dude. 37.33%. He makes Terrence McKinney look cautious with his 47% distance striking defense, man. Yeah, both of these guys get hit a lot. Both of these guys are good finishers. I mean, McKinney 100%, Breeden 80%. And yeah, I mean, Terrence McKinney's definitely got that quit in him, and Breeden's been finished in 2 of his 5 losses. But the one thing that you can count on from Mike Breeden is conditioning. The guy will give you a good hard 15 minutes. So if he can last through the first round of this fight, he becomes very live. If he's still alive with 20 or 30 seconds left in that first round, live bet Mike Breeden. You got to do it before the round ends. You got to take that chance that he survives, because, and I mean, like, people will be like, oh God, even more of a chance that McKinney gasses out on short notice. No, it's 100% chance that he gasses out. So they're like, the one time you should never be fucking nervous about betting Terrence McKinney is on short notice, because you're probably actually getting a better price than you would on the on a full camp, because people might actually think on a full camp that he could last more than 2.5 minutes, which he can't. So, yeah, I mean, like the bookies are onto it, Brady. I have no idea how to make money on this fight, but I will tell you that I like the under 1.5 rounds, and that you heard it here first. There's going to be a lot of other people, Brady, coming out claiming that they were the first to say that they liked violence in this fight. But now it's you and me, Brady, putting in that early work. We have got the abacus out. I've got the spreadsheets out. I've got the analytics. I'm telling you guys, I like the under 1.5 here.
A little bit of a hot take, but I could potentially see it. I remember last month, because it wasn't too long ago, where we broke down that terrible card in July. Like, there's a lot of great cards in July, but there's that one terrible card, Holly Holm, Marbueno Silva card, right? And I remember I showed my notes at the end of the show, and it said one thing. It said McKinney Sadikov under 1.5. And I said, remember when I said that that was going to be my only bet of the week?
Yeah.
Had I done that, it would have been a winning week that night, but I didn't.
Yeah, I actually had a winning night. I actually had 2 bets. I missed one of them and I hit the other one. It was up 0.9 units. Hey, I put it on the refrigerator, baby. You know, we'll take that win. We put it up there and we try to build off of it. So, yeah, Breeden, McKinney. I mean, like, you don't really need, you know, your Uncle Weezy and Brady to tell you what's going to happen in this fight. We all already know.
Yep, we already know. I think Mike Breeden knows as well. Which, by the way, who is Mike Breeden supposed to fight prior to McKinney? Because this kind of sucks for Mike Breeden. Oh, he's supposed to fight Lana Venata.
Yeah, much older dude, you know. But I mean, either way, I think this is Breeden's last fight. You know, I mean, he's not really moving the needle, is he?
No, I mean, this is probably Breeden's last fight for sure. All right, Weezy, let's move on to the next fight. We have JP Buys going against Marcus McGhee. We got JP Buys, 27 years old, 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. Marcus McGhee, 33 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. We got JP Buys 6 years younger, and we got JP Buys with a 3-inch height disadvantage and a 3-inch reach disadvantage. JP Buys is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He had a submission win on the Contender Series, made his debut against Bruno Silva, lost by knockout in the second round. He got knocked out 50 times by Montel Jackson, but Jackson decided to knock him down and just not finish the fight for some reason. And then he got knocked out on the very first minute against one Cody Durden. As far as Marcus McGhee, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut on short notice, on a couple days' notice against Journey Newson. Looked really good. Was able to club and sub the black belt in Journey Newson. And yeah, this is a fight that I think this is probably the biggest mismatch on the card. JP Buys is coming back up to bantamweight. I'm not sure, the line of the thinking for that. He's getting destroyed by these flyweights, coming up to bantamweight. I'm not sure if that's the best idea. He's going to be very undersized here. JP Buys is a guy that, in the past, he has had success in terms of the wrestling, getting the fight down to the mat, and has looked good with the grappling early on. But the problem always with JP Buys has been, once the fight does get extended, or once JP Buys does battle any adversity whatsoever, he kind of seems to look for a way out. He has been finished in 4 of his 5 losses, and the one loss that did go the distance was again against Montel Jackson, where Montel Jackson set a knockdown record for the flyweight division. So Marcus McGhee in the Newson fight, he showed very good takedown defense. He looked good. His striking looked good. He showed a lot of power. Marcus McGhee has a 100% finish rate. I think the most likely scenario here is Marcus McGhee knocking out JP Buys, and I think it probably comes in the first round as well. After taping this fight, I was like, I'm gonna max bet Marcus McGhee, and then I saw the line, and Marcus McGhee is a minus 350, minus 375 favorite. So definitely a big favorite, and JP Buys, he does somewhat have a path here. I don't like the fact that he's moving up to bantamweight, but he does somewhat have a path because the one time we did see Marcus McGhee lose, it was by submission against Nascimento just a couple fights ago. So in theory, if JP Buys does get this fight down to the mat, that is, McGee's one kind of weak spot there. But I don't like his chances in this one. I think Marcus McGhee starches JP Buys. So Weezy, what are your thoughts on this matchup? And yeah, I'm surprised JP Buys is getting another go at it. I mean, this is going to be his 4th fight on a 3-fight skid, getting finished in all of his law. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I think they're trying to make a name off of Marcus McGhee, who impressed his last time out.
Yeah. And McGhee's kind of like an interesting guy, right? Because he's only been a pro for 3 years, Brady, and he's 33 years old. So this guy made his professional debut like late into his 29th year. And now he's got 8 fights. And it's kind of weird, because he's 3 inches taller. He's got the 3-inch reach advantage, but it's Bays who's more experienced. Bays has been a pro for like 4.5 more years. Bays has got more high level experience. I mean, everybody that JP Bays fought at the UFC level beats Journey Newson, So, and we know that JP Bays is a legit wrestler, right? South African wrestling team, competed all over the world as a wrestler, and he's a high level freestyle wrestler. So, there's some paths here for him because look, JP Bay's more experienced. JP Bay has fought the better brand of competition. He's going to be the better pure wrestler here. But yeah, he's absorbing a whole ton of knockdowns. I mean, you don't see a lot of people absorbing knockdowns on 17.78% of the distance strikes that they're absorbing. Most of those knockdowns did come up at bantamweight against Montel Jackson. But other than that, look at those names though, right? Cody Durden, Montel Jackson, Bruno Silva. I mean, he's fought really good guys. Those guys have a combined 14-6 record in the UFC. So this is a huge step down in competition for JP, but he's going from flyweight up to bantamweight. And when you watch the tape on McGhee, he's good, man. He is good. He's really good on the feet. I see him switching stances a lot. He seems to be dangerous from both. Got a lot of power. So, but these are the Joe Biden years, Brady. We don't lay minus 350 in this economy, in this MMA economy on a guy who's got 8 professional fights in 3.5 years, because he got a win over Journey Newson. God, I mean, I just can't advocate betting McGhee here as much as I think he gets the job done. And yeah, violence is even pretty expensive too. I mean, it's a 1.5 round over under here. It's a flyweight fight, and we're actually paying juice for the under 1.5. But at the same time, both of these guys' fights do finish. So they're both got, big time finish rates. I think but one of their pro wins is a finish, and all but one of their pro losses are finishes. So yeah, it should be ending inside the distance. Fight doesn't go to decision. Should be a really good bet, but I don't think it'll be priced well, and that makes it unfortunate. It's hard to make money off of this fight because I think McGhee should win, but Christ, man, there's no way I'm laying minus 350 on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Very, very confident in McGhee, but laying minus 350 to minus 400, not really something that really makes a ton of sense. McGhee inside the distance is probably going to be like minus 200, which again, it hits, but not probably the best bet there. Probaholic got the under 2.5 at minus 155. Yeah, that would have been a max bet for me. But yeah, right now the over under set at 1.5, and the under 1.5 is juiced to minus 120. So I'd prefer the 2.5. Just because it covers Bays' win condition as well. I think if Bays wins, it's probably a first round sub. This guy's a lot of first round finishes, and a lot of his fights, once the fight does reach the second round, kind of falls off a cliff more often than not. So I think the under is probably the better way to play this fight rather than McGhee minus 350. But it's still, you're gonna be paying some chalk on it for sure. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see if any props stick out throughout the week, but looks like they are all over this fight.
Yeah, they are, man. And why shouldn't they be? I mean, that was something that stuck out when I saw these two were fighting. I'm like, ooh, I'd love to see where they open the time props here and just smash the under at wherever it opens. Because wherever they open it, it's not going to be expensive enough because it's a flyweight fight. But they still did a pretty good job.
Yeah. McGhee KO is the easiest dollar. I mean, I agree, but it's going to be like minus 170 is the only thing. And playing minus 150 on a KO prop is not something you really want to do. Like even Suarez last week, I felt so dirty. I felt dirty laying minus 140 on Suarez inside the distance. I felt so dirty and nasty all week. I mean, it came through, but not my favorite bet in the world.
Yeah, I mean, laying juice is always tricky. It really is, because it just seems like when you lay juice, that's when things go tits up.
Yeah, that is the truth. All right, Weezy, let's move on to another mismatch. We got Josh Fremd going against Jamie Pickett. We got Josh Fremd, 29 years old, 6'4", with a 76-inch reach. Jamie Pickett, 34 years old, 6'2", with an 80-inch reach. We got Josh Fremd, 5 years younger, with a 2-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Josh Fremd is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez on short notice, lost by decision there, but thought his stock rose, showed toughness, and had some moments against Fluffy in that fight. Lost by submission against Trayshawn Gore, and then submits SD Dumas his next fight after that. Jamie Pickett is on a 3-fight skid. He's 2-3 in his last 5, beating Laureano Staropoli by decision, the worst fight you'll ever watch. And then he beats Joseph Holmes. Did he end up submitting Holmes? I thought that went to decision.
Holmes went 15 minutes in a fight.
I don't
love to fucking see that. What did he get stretchered out of there? That dude has got no cardio. I mean, that's the one part of the sheet that I input manually. So let me look. It's definitely possible I made a mistake there.
Yeah, that was decision.
Okay.
Yeah, because that fight was probably even worse than the Staropoli fight, which was...
That's impossible, Brady. That is absolutely... Staropoli Pickett fight is literally one of the worst fights of all time besides Prochnio versus Knight.
Yeah, it was... Both fights were really bad, but you're right. And then he goes out there and gets finished by Daukaus. Daukaus cashes a nice ticket for me. I got Daukaus at -200 in that Pickett fight, and Pickett tapped with like half a second left, which was sweet. And then he gets destroyed by Dennis Tuoluen, cashing a Dennis Tuoluen knockout prop for me, which was awesome. Thank you, Jamie Pickett. And then Jamie Pickett goes out there and cashes me a Bo Nickel under 1.5 round. Jamie Pickett's been making me some money, man. Bo Nickel under, Dennis Tuoluen knockout, Kyle Daukaus money line. Like, I've been making some money on Jamie Pickett. So appreciate you, Jamie Pickett. And yeah, they're giving him another shot here, which is interesting. On a 3-fight skid, they're giving him Josh Fremd here, who I think Josh Fremd is very good. He's 1-2 in the UFC. I think he's a lot better than that does indicate. You go back and watch this guy's fights, like, he can do just about everything. He can wrestle, he can grapple, and he can knock guys out. I mean, there's some brutal knockouts. If you go back and watch some of this guy's fights from a couple of years ago, there's some knockouts where these guys just aren't getting up, like just brutal knockouts. So he has power. He has a submission game. I just feel like he has a lot of ways to win this fight. I mean, I think he's better than Pickett anywhere this fight goes. Jamie Pickett's a brown belt or a black belt, but Pickett's been subbed like 4 times in his career. I think Fremd can sub this guy. I think Jamie Pickett, although I thought was once durable, I don't think he's that durable really at all. Getting finished by Dennis Tuoluen, getting starched in 60 seconds by the Beverly Hills Ninja. I think Fremd can probably knock him out as well. So I'll be taking a look at Fremd inside the distance, but probably won't get the best price considering Fremd is, I think, the biggest favorite on the entire card. Yeah, second biggest favorite. He's -325.
Yeah, I mean, as he should be. I mean, if Fremd loses this fight, I would be like fucking shocked. I really would be shocked. I like Jamie Pickett. The only way he beats you is if you have a major hole in your game. Like, he even lost round 1 to Holmes, and then won the second and the third. So this guy is, he's so bad. And like you said, getting finished in his last 3 losses. And, I mean, like Dennis Tuoluen's finishing you at the UFC level. That is a bad scene there. He held Staropoli up against the cage for 15 minutes, and Staropoli's a welterweight. And Joe Holmes got 4 minutes of cardio. He makes, McKinney look like a pretty good cardio guy. So I don't see how Jamie Pickett wins this fight. I mean, because Fremd has got a D1 background for wrestling. The dude has got crazy power, like you said. Like, they're holding prayer vigils over these guys that he's knocking out in LFA. They are nasty knockouts where you're in fear for the person's health. And Fremd showed in the Hernandez fight that he really doesn't have any quit in him, I mean, he went to decision with Anthony Hernandez. Hernandez breaks just about everybody, So, yeah, I mean, like, Fremd's younger. He's taller than this dude. He's way more athletic, I think, too. I mean, Fremd's a really good athlete, and I think he's got the conditioning, the wrestling, the submission grappling. He's much better on the feet, much more powerful. Yeah, I mean, this should be Fremd all day. I'm actually kind of tempted to just max bet him because, I mean, I know that Pickett's bad, but I'm not just betting against a bad fighter. I know what I'm getting in Josh Fremd. This guy's got he's a mixed martial artist with several tools in the toolbox. He could get a knockout, he could get a submission, he could grind this dude out. There's a number of different ways that he can make this look pretty easy.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, I want to max bet Fremd, and then I saw the minus 325. I'm not too excited about that. I mean, not really. Maybe I'll bet like the minus 3.5 because I don't really see Pickett winning any minutes here, and I think he probably gets finished. So maybe the minus 3.5 could be a good way to play it. Or, like I said, I might attack Fremd inside the distance. Just keep the finish train going and keep the money train going. Just fading Jamie Pickett at this point. But yeah, should be Fremd all day. And yeah, I'm not sure what Pickett's path to victory is. Maybe having some success in the wrestling, the grappling, but I don't know. I mean, Fluffy Hernandez kind of struggled to do that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if you're surviving 3 rounds with Fluffy Hernandez, I mean, like, how shocked would you be if Pickett went out there and starched this dude? I mean, I'd probably just leave home and just put a stick on my shoulder with like a change of clothes in there and just start walking south because I don't know what to think anymore if that happens. So, I mean, this should absolutely be Josh Fremd all day. He's a really good fighter and Jamie Pickett's a really bad fighter.
Yep. Simple as that. Simple as that. All right. I was just checking Jamie Pickett's Instagram to see if there was a hype video, but there is none. So
damn it, man. That would be sweet because if we could get you running through a wall again like you were during the Parisian hype video, that'd be great for the show. But yeah, I just don't think he even has the energy to do a hype video. He's just so slow paced,
Yeah. Let's move on to the next fight. We have AJ Dobson going against Tafon and Nchukwi. We got Dobson, 31 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. Tafon, he's 6 foot, 77-inch reach, 20 years old. Tafon is 3 years younger, 1 inch height disadvantage and a 1 inch reach advantage. Yeah, we got Dobson 3-2 in his last 5 fights, had a submission win first round contender series. After that, he lost the decision to Jacob Malkoun and Armin can't talk tonight. Parisian, there we go. Which are 2 really good opponents. Parisian and Malkoun, very good guys. As far as Tafon Nchukwi, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against the Night Wolf, Jamie Pickett. A decision loss to Jung Young Park. A decision win against Mike Slow Rodriguez, and then a knockout loss to Azamat Murzakanov and Carlos Olberg. So yeah, this fight's kind of a tough one for me because I think Tafon is a very solid fighter. I love the volume that Tafon brings. This guy is, completely jacked, but his cardio looks very good. He can go 3 rounds, no problem. I was going back and watching the Azamat fight, and he was actually outlanding Azamat Murzakanov in both the first and second round, man. I mean, which is tough to do because I know Azamat, I'm not a big fan of the guy. I think Azamat Murzakonov's he's a liar. He's not 34 years old like he says he is. He's 60 or something, but he is a very, very good striker. And Tafon was outlanded this guy, outworking this guy, which really impressed me. I'm just kind of worried about like the chin, like the durability of Tafon. I mean, he got dropped a couple times in the Murzakanov fight, but it was that flying knee that ultimately finished him off. And then in the Olberg fight, he just got flatlined in like 60 seconds. And I feel like it's one of those fights where Tafon should be the minute winner here. I mean, I think he's the much higher volume striker. I feel like if anybody wrestles here, it's going to be Tafon. Don't think he's going to have much success doing so, but if, that's kind of in his back pocket. He's shown that he could go out there and get takedowns, got a couple against Park, got a couple against Mike Rodriguez. But I think these guys primarily do strike, and on the feet, I expect Tafon to be the higher volume striker. But Dobson does have power. He has a lot of finishing ability, and the chin of Tafon at this point is starting to be a little bit of a worry for me. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this matchup? I don't have a strong lean one way or another here.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, I think both of these guys are actually pretty good. Nchukwi's losses have come to studs in Murzakanov and Olberg. And the same thing, we could say the same about Dobson, The question is how slow is AJ Dobson, right? Because when you look at the 2 UFC wins for Tafon and Nchukwi, they come against the Night Wolf, Jamie Pickett, and that wolf has osteoarthritis because he is slower than molasses in January. And the other guy that he beat, his nickname is literally Slow Mike Rodriguez. So Tafon and Nchukwi, if you're a turtle, he can beat you, But if you've got any speed, that's when things get a little bit dicey. You know, Jun Yong Park, Azamat Mirzakhanov, Carlos Ulberg, and you know, I think Dobson might be just as willing to wrestle here as Nchukwi. You know, Dobson's training over there with Matt Brown and Mark Coleman. You know, so he's getting a lot of wrestling work, and we've seen him 3 for 3 on his takedowns. But he's gotten controlled a lot, obviously, by Jacobs Malkoon. And when he was taking down Petrosian, you know, Petrosian was getting right back up. So I do see it being a striking match. You know, Nchukwi's got the 1-inch reach advantage. Both of these guys have similar experience numbers. Both of these guys have power. I think this could be a sneaky under, you know, because we've seen Nchukwi kind of like show some chin problems, but of course he's got power as well, you know. I think both of these guys, you know, hit very hard, but because Dobson's fights have went to decision the last 2 times, it's a little bit cheaper. But when you look at these guys outside the UFC, for the fight doesn't go to decision, it's 10 of their 11 fights outside of the UFC have finished inside the distance, 91%. But in the UFC, it's 0 of 2 for Dobson, and it's only 2 of 5 for Nchukwi. So 28.57%, but the under 2.5 for these two heavy hitters, you know, is plus money. You don't see that a lot for the middleweight division. We're getting like a 5% discount when we compare the price of the line to the under 2.5 benchmark for the division. And like I say, both these guys got power. So maybe plus 110 on the under 2.5 is the coward's way out to not have to pick a side, but we could just choose violence.
Yeah, we could. I was kind of thinking maybe the finish only for Dobson because he has never been finished, whereas Tafon, I really do worry about the chin. But yeah, maybe violence could be a look. Money looks like it came on the over originally. The over 2.5 was minus 115, now minus 140. And then Tafon minus 145, Dobson plus 125. Closely lined fight here. I don't know. It's a fight where I feel like Tafon could be the minute winner, but you know Dobson is very explosive, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup. I think these guys are pretty well matched. They've both fought a pretty good level of competition at the UFC level, and it'll be like the size and the athletic ability of Dobson versus that, you know, like fire hydrant, low center of gravity, you know, really hard to take down guy in Nchukwi. So yeah, it should be a pretty close fight. I think the line is probably right about where it should be.
Yep, I agree. Let's move on to the next fight. Before we do so, if you guys could please do us a favor, smash the like button, and of course, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio if you guys do not already. Let's try to get those likes up. And by the way, I do want to shout out the Pub Sports contest every week, every Saturday. Do a contest, pubsportsradio.com. Enter your predictions, and whoever does the best, $100 to first there. So we'll see how that plays out next or this Saturday. But we're going to go to a solid fight here. We got Polyana Viana going against Iasmin Lucindo. So many people gave me crap about how I pronounced this name last time. So I went out and I made sure to get it right this time. And if people are still saying that I'm getting it wrong, Weezy, they're going to have to hit up like Joe Martinez or, you know, the commentators, because I went and made sure I got it right. And they're saying Iasmin. They're saying Iasmin. So I'm going with what they're saying. So Iasmin Lucindo going against Polyana Viana. Lucindo is 21 years old. She's 5'3" with a 66-inch reach. Viana, 31 years old, 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. Lucindo, 10 years younger, a 2-inch height disadvantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Polyana Viana, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A submission loss to Veronica Hardy, a submission win against Emily Quitmeyer, a submission win against Mallory Martin, a decision loss to Tabitha Ricci, and then a knockout in the first 60 seconds against Jinyu Fry. As far as Iasmin Lucindo, she is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Made her debut, or 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Iasmin Heregi, lost that fight by decision, and then she beat Brogan Walker Sanchez by decision here. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'm really impressed with Lucindo. She looked really good in the Brogan Walker Sanchez fight, which I don't want to take too much away from that because I don't think Sanchez is that great, but you know, her striking looked really good. She reminds me of like a little bit of a less handsome, you know, Jessica Andrade. You know, she puts a ton into her shot. She hits very, very hard. I would have liked to saw her, get more takedowns in that Walker Sanchez fight, just because we saw Juliana Miller do so and have success. And Lucindo would go for takedowns, but she would go for him like late in the fight to seal off rounds, which was nice. But we saw her, get a takedown. I think it was like at the end of the second round, get right in the mount, and she didn't have enough time left. But I thought she could have finished that fight against Brogan Walker Sanchez. But yeah, I'm very high on Lucindo. 21 years old. She's only going to be improving from here on out. Polyana Viana is somebody that it's you don't see it too often. She has a 100% finish rate. All of her wins come inside the distance, which tells you one thing and one thing only, and that's that she's a terrible minute winner. She just simply does not win minutes, and you can go look at the Tabitha Ricci fight where she was content to lose minutes. She was pulling guard, she was laying on her back, and she was losing minutes just by doing so. But she is super dangerous. She is super dangerous as a very active guard. She has submitted multiple fighters off of her back, and on the feet, she's flashing some power. So yeah, I think Polyana Viana is somebody that, although she is 10 years older, I think she's still improving as well. So I think this is a very good fight, Weezy. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you broke it down perfectly in that Polyana is a moment winner. She's got really good. What she reminds me of? She's like the male or the female Joelle Alvarez, where she's dangerous on the feet. She throws with a lot of power, does Polyana, and she's like trying to kind of like make you take her down because she wants to get guard submissions. She looks for those arm bars from guard. So she's going to be very aggressive on the feet, make you shoot. And then when you shoot, she's going to try to lock up that submission. But that kind of game plan doesn't win minutes for you unless you're spending extended periods of time dominating on the feet. And that's going to be a tall order here against Iasmin Lucindo, who's very active on the feet, who throws with a lot of power, like you said. And she's still only 21 years old. So, these are the type of fighters that you might see massive improvements from in between fights. So I think it's an interesting stylistic matchup here. Iasmin should probably just try to keep this fight standing, and hopefully she'll be good there. But if she isn't, then Viana becomes very live. Maybe a decision-only prop on Iasmin Lucindo would be a good way to play this, because if she doesn't get subbed, if she doesn't get knocked out, it's pretty easy to see that maybe she's the one, she keeps it standing and wins the striking exchanges, or, just does more in the clinch, or she does get takedowns and stays safe on top, landing some ground and pound. So, I think that Iasmin Lucindo decision might be the way to play this. Polyana Viana has only been finished once in her career. And like I said, she's got power too. She knocked out Amanda Ribas, I believe, on the regional scene. And we just saw her absolutely starch Jin Yu Fry. She's getting submissions on the regular, a 100% finish rate in her wins. So it's not something you see every day. Lucindo, a good finisher in her own right, but she's been finished in 3 of 5 losses. But you got to go back a ways, and they happened when she was like 17 or 18 years old. So I don't know how much we really know from that. So I think it's a very sneaky under. Good plus money there on the under 2.5 rounds right now at plus 170. Because we know that Viana likes to finish.
It moved to minus 150 or moved to plus 155.
Okay, yeah, it's been sliding. I took a look at plus 180. I almost pulled the trigger, didn't get there. Then I saw plus 170, and I was like, well, I guess now I can wait. And now I probably should have pulled it on at 170 even. But now I don't know about it, just because Polyana is hard to finish. So finish only prop on Viana could be interesting. Decision only prop on Iasmin Lucindo could be interesting. A Iasmin Lucindo by decision bet could be very interesting. That's the way I'll be looking to play this one.
Yeah, earlier under numbers, I didn't mind. 155, I'm okay with passing. Because like you said, I could absolutely see a Lucindo decision. And I was going to ask you if Polyana Viana was the one hanging out with Colby Covington, but I ended up looking it up, and it was confirmed. And I went to this website, MMAweekly.com, and I don't know if I even want to read it, but apparently, I don't know if you heard this, but Viana revealed that a time where Covington got upset with her because she didn't want to perform a certain sex act.
Yes, that happened, because what had happened was, Brady, evidently Polyana was over there training at either American Top Team or MMA Masters, depending on whether, Colby had already left American Top Team or not. They met, they hit it off, they went back to Colby's place, took care of business. And then Colby, being the class act that he is, told everybody that he was balls deep in Polyana Viana that weekend. While, and that was like, I think Kamaru Usman was fighting, and they asked him, did you go, to the fight? Did you watch it? And he's like, no, I was with Polyana Viana taking care of business. I'll watch that at some other time. So then a couple months went by, and then Polyana posted that on Twitter, which basically, because I think she said that, oh, no, I've got a boyfriend. That didn't happen. And then she came out and said, yeah, it turns out they probably did hook up, which is crazy because the entire country of Brazil hates Colby Covington, and he's out there getting one of their finest ladies. God bless Colby Covington.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the exact tweet right now, and it is groundbreaking stuff. So Polyana Viana tweeted this, and I quote, "Colby wanted me to finger him in the ass, but I did not want to. He got upset."
He got upset.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, and that was so funny because I was like, wait a second. I remember you brought that to my attention when that tweet happened. I go, that's not Polyana's account. And you're like, no, dude, it's Polyana's account. She tweeted that. And I was like, oh my God, is that hilarious? That's
funny. My favorite part is he got upset with an exclamation point. She had to throw it in there. That's hilarious. Big fan of Colby Covington. Big fan.
Me too. I'm a big fan of both of them. Go Polyana, go Colby. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this line, Weezy. We have Iasmin Lucindo minus 180, Polyana Viana plus 155. So, I mean, if we were talking, who's more handsome, I think Lucindo would be minus 10,000. I mean, look, like you don't see look at that to the left right here. You don't see a haircut like that too often.
Yeah, her and Diego Lopez, I think, got the same barber. They're just putting the part on the other side.
Yeah, that is fascinating stuff. Yeah, I like it.
I like the tattoo too. I mean, like throat tattoos are plus EV in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, she's good. I'm very high on her. But not really sure if I want to lay the minus 180, but maybe the finish only for Viana, the decision only for Lucindo could be ways to look at this fight.
Agreed. I think those are the safe ways to look at it, but something tells me that the bookies are going to be all over it.
Especially in that decision only. It's probably crazy.
I know. We're going to have to hope we catch them with their pants down, but they're getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Khalil Rountree going against Officer Chris Daukaus. He was an officer, right?
Not anymore. I think he retired. I think he retired like Trevin Giles did, and now they're not doing as good of a job keeping the peace in the cage.
I know. I guess so. I guess they should. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, that is right. Yeah, he did retire, and then he's just been on a bad skid. But we got Khalil Rountree, 33 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. Officer Chris Daukaus, 33 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. Same age there. Khalil Rountree is 2 inches shorter, same reach. Khalil Rountree is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A knockout loss to Ion Kudalaba. A decision loss to Marcin Prokhnio. It is a knockout win against Modestas Bukauskas, a knockout win against Carl Roberson, and then a decision loss against Dustin Jacoby where the judges scored it wrong. As far as Chris Daukaus, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Alexei Oleinik, a knockout win against the very handsome Shamil Abdurakhimov, a knockout loss to Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So yeah, Chris Daukaus. I'm glad they didn't cut Chris Daukaus. I'm a big fan of Chris Daukaus. I think this guy's exciting. But he's coming back down. He's coming down to light heavyweight, which I think is for maybe the first time in his career. Has he fought at light heavyweight before, Weezy?
I don't think so. I think he's always been a heavyweight, but I could go back and check. But I remember even like the CFFC footage. He was a heavyweight. So probably never fought at 205.
Yeah, so coming down to 205, and then they give him one of the hardest hitters in the light heavyweight division in Khalil Rountree. I mean, Khalil Rountree, this guy, when he's on, he is one of the most frightening fighters in the UFC. I mean, I remember the Carl Roberson fight, Weezy, where I, for some reason, had a bet on Carl Roberson that fight, thinking, oh, Carl Roberson's finally getting a kickboxer, right?
Yeah.
And you just see the camera before the fight starts. It goes right into Khalil Rountree's face. It's like a close-up, and he's like this. He's like this, and right then, my bet was not cashing that night. I mean, when Khalil Rountree is on, and he is like that. Carl Roberson fight was terrifying. Remember, one of the announcers were like, he just beat Carl Roberson up like he owed him money. Like this guy Rountree is insane when he's on, but sometimes he's off. Sometimes he's off. Sometimes he looks horrible. Looked awful against Prochnio. Looked awful against Kulaba. Got starched by Johnny Walker. He looked bad against Tyson Pedro, got finished early. Like sometimes he shows up and sometimes he doesn't. But we always go back to that Eric Anders fight where I think Khalil Rountree just really, really turned a corner in his career. He was coming off of that Johnny Walker knockout loss. He took a little bit over a year off, and then he went to Thailand, right? And then he showed up against Eric Anders and just beat the brakes off of Anders across 3 rounds, just knocking him down 4 times. And I think that's where we first saw Bangkok Khalil Rountree. Like Bangkok Khalil Rountree is an animal. So Chris Daukaus is getting away from that heavyweight power, but now he's going to have to fight Khalil Rountree, and I don't think we're in Abu Dhabi as far as I'm concerned. So I have concerns, man, about Daukaus. I think he's a very, very good fighter. I think his striking is very, very good. I think he has a lot of power. I think he's very fast, at least for a heavyweight. We'll see if the speed, the power does translate down here at light heavyweight, but I kind of see Rountree knocking this guy out. I don't think, Daukaus has the best durability. Rountree does. Typically, he is durable, whereas Daukaus, he's been finished a ton. So, Rountree is a decent sized favorite. I get it. I kind of think that he knocks out Daukaus here, but I think somebody's probably getting served in this one. I think this fight's going to play out a lot like I thought the Wells Harris fight was going to play out. I thought Wells and Harris were going to stand and strike with each other. I kind of see that happening here. I think these guys are going to stand and strike with each other. I think they're both going to land big shots, and I think somebody's probably going down. Very, very fun fight here, Weezy.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have 20 combined UFC fights between Rountree and Daukaus, and they've combined between the two of them in those 20 UFC fights and 125 minutes of cage time for 1 takedown attempt. So if you like violence here, maybe just go fight ends by KO. I mean, it'll probably be the same price. This fight doesn't go to decision, but I think that somebody is going to get knocked out here. But whenever it's a boxer versus a kickboxer, I have to favor the kickboxer. They're going to do a better job of winning minutes most of the time. They're going to do a better job of maintaining range. They're going to make the boxer pay every time they try to close distance. So, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable with Daukaus having a chance here if I had ever seen this dude really pressure on the feet. I don't really see him pressuring. He kind of waits for somebody to kind of come into his range, and then because he was a heavyweight, he was faster than most of those guys. I don't think he's going to be faster than Khalil Rountree here. So, and even though Chris Daukaus is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, God forbid he should ever try to use it. I mean, like, he fought so many guys where you'd be like, oh, he's going to shoot a takedown, Derek Lewis, Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I mean, like, why are you not shooting takedowns against those guys? Why are you not giving those guys something to think about? And it's just because Chris is not a wrestler. I mean, Chris will use his BJJ if the fight goes to the ground organically, but he's not going to be the one trying to take people down. So I think it's a boxing match. It's a kickboxing match. And who can we count on to win a kickboxing match here? I think Khalil Rountree, just because he's got more weapons. Both of these guys have shown a lot of power, but Chris Daukaus' speed made a difference in the heavyweight division. I don't think it really makes a difference here. So I'm going to go with Khalil, but I don't think it's a hot take. He's the favorite. He's the guy that we've seen more of, and we've got a big question mark about how does Daukaus look, because he's not durable at heavyweight. I don't think he's going to be any more durable after a 40-pound weight cut. So kind of feel like this has got to be Khalil here.
Yep. And I was taking a look at Daukaus' Instagram, not to find a hype video this time, but just to see what shape he's in. And he looks in good shape, man. Look at that. That's a brand new Chris Daukaus there.
Yeah, it is, dude. Yeah. Yeah, he looks like he looks about the same size as his brother now.
Yeah. His brother is middleweight, Daukaus light heavyweight now. Yeah, he looks good, man.
Yeah, dude, his arms, his biceps look big.
Yeah, good for Chris Daukaus there. So yeah, Daukaus, I don't think the weight will be an issue here. I don't think the weight gets to be an issue, but I think the issue is going to be the fact that Khalil Rountree is an absolute killer.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very difficult problem to deal with. There's no question about it.
Yep, and even if this fight does go the distance, the judges are apparently big Khalil Rountree fans. So Rountree,
They certainly are, man. God damn, the last time I bet on Dustin Jacoby, I was crying over that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Rountree, what is he? -190. Opened at -220, so it looks like some money has came in on Daukaus. Daukaus opened at +185, currently +165. So Propaholic hit me up today, and he showed me what he got today for his bets, because Propaholic's already on it, and he sent me an under 1.5 ticket at +170.
Yeah, that probably was there for about a minute and a half.
Someone had to be fired. I mean, that's the worst line I've ever heard in my life. Now it's -160, so that line moved a dollar already.
Dude, that line is so fucking stupid, Brady. You know what Chris Daukaus' average fight time is in the UFC?
Like 3 minutes.
3.25 minutes. You're given a +170 on a 7.5 minute under when Khalil Rountree's average fight time is 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could do a real quick. You want to do an expected value here? We got 103.97 plus 22.78. That's 126.75 minutes divided by 20. Average fight time 6.33 minutes. I mean, that should have been -125, that opener. Just on pure statistics. Not to mention the stylistic read.
Yep, and -125 would have loved it. -160, I even think it's probably playable. But I want to kind of wait. Yeah.
It's kind of playable even at -160.
I know. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Mark. Apparently, he's giving birth to his 7th kid.
Dude, Mark, congratulations, man. That's fantastic. What a blessing. Yeah. Hopefully, everything goes really well and happy, healthy wife, baby, and husband. Congratulations, Mark. That's awesome to hear.
Congratulations. And yeah, Prop is prop shaming us.
Yes, he always gets the best lines, dude. That guy's got a job and he's up early in the morning, and it takes dedication to keep refreshing that page until the lines come out, and to know what your reads are in advance and what you're looking for so that you can jump.
You know what? F this. I don't deserve this anymore. This closing line value trophy. I don't think I deserve this. I think I might have to ship it off to Propaholic.
Yeah, I think he deserves it, man. The guy constantly is beating that line value.
Yeah. So Christmas came early. Propaholic, you need to get yourself one of these CLV trophies. They're kind of expensive for like a little toy. I mean, I think it was like $30 to to customize it and everything, plus the shipping. It's like $6 to ship it, but I mean, it was worth it. I'm very happy with it. It's a nice addition to my desk.
It's a good reminder that you are the champion of closing line value, and that we beat the bookies with closing line value on a weekly basis. Just it's up to the fighters to do their parts for us.
Yep, it's never our faults. It's always
exactly. Yes. That's the one thing. If you take anything away from today's stat diggers, it's that when things goes tits up, it's never your Uncle Weezy or Brady's fault. It's everybody's fault but ours. Take that away from this show today, and we're all good.
Yeah, 100%. People need to realize that. People need to realize that it's never our fault, and we always make the right choices. But we can move on to the co-main event. Weezy, we have Cub Swanson going against Hakeem Dawodu. We got Cub Swanson, 39 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Hakeem Dawodu, 32 years old, 5'8" with a 73-inch reach. Dawodu is 7 years younger. Same height, 3-inch reach advantage. Cub Swanson, he has 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Kron Gracie, a knockout win against Daniel Pineda, a knockout loss to Giga Chikadze, knockout win against Darren Elkins, and then a knockout loss to Jonathan Martinez. As far as Hakeem Dawodu, he has 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Julio Arce, a decision win against Zabara Tuhugov, a decision loss against Mozvar Evloev, a decision win against Mike Trezano, and then a decision loss against Juliana Rosa. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's confirmed or what, but I'm pretty sure this is probably Cub Swanson's retirement fight because, man, he looked like rough in his fight against Jonathan Martinez. And I think Jonathan Martinez is a very good fighter, but everything that was landing from Martinez was hurting Cub Swanson. Martinez hurt him not only to the legs, but to the body. He hurt him to the head. I mean, he was just getting hurt with everything that landed in that fight. I thought that fight probably could even been stopped a lot sooner, but Martinez ended up getting like a TKO, via leg kicks in that fight. I just think, this should be Hakeem. I mean, I've never been a big fan of Hakeem, but it's hard to pick Cub Swanson in a fight really against anybody at this point. So give me Hakeem Dawodu to win this fight. He should finish Cub Swanson, but Hakeem Dawodu is not really finishing anybody. But not a ton of interest in this fight. Not a ton of interest in leg minus 220 now on Hakeem Dawodu.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This should be Hakeem. He's 7 years, almost 8 years younger than Cub. But the one thing I think we need to really keep our eye on here is that for the first time in his career, Hakeem Dawodu missed weight against Juliana Rosa, and then as a big favorite, just kind of came in and looked flat. He lost that fight. It wasn't a fight he was supposed to lose. So, I'm sure. It's a huge red flag when you got 8 UFC fights and then in your 9th UFC fight, you go out there and you miss weight. You've never done it before. It usually means injury. Something's going on, right? So we got to make sure that Hakeem makes weight this time around, because if he does, I mean, how does Cub win this fight? Hakeem's going out there against guys like Julio Arce and Zubaira Tukugov, who are really good strikers. And winning minutes against those guys, winning split decisions against those guys. If he can beat those guys in striking matches, I mean, a 39-year-old Cub Swanson who leaves his legs open all the time, it's going to be an absolute ass whooping, kind of like what Parisian's doing to that pad right now. So I like Hakeem here, but when it comes to laying juice on dudes, I've got to make sure that Hakeem makes weight here, but I don't see him losing this fight if everything is ready to go this time around for Hakeem Dawodu. There's no injuries, that he's trained, he's ready to fight. Yeah, I mean, Cub, he doesn't grapple at all, which is one place that we've seen Dawodu struggle, but you can't worry, you're never going to expect Cub to go out there and get takedowns. So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy. Dawodu fight here. Like I say, 8 years younger, 3-inch reach advantage, and he's the better striker anyway. And Cub doesn't really grapple. Definitely like Hakeem.
Yeah, I do too. I just don't know if I like the minus 220 on him. Looks like they have the over-under set at 2.5 rounds. Like I said, I really think Hakeem should finish this guy, but Hakeem doesn't really show an interest in finishing anybody is my only concern. But the under 2.5 is like plus 125.
Under 2.5 plus 125 for this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not counting on either one of these guys getting a finish at this point, even though, Cub Swanson's last 4 fights have finished inside the distance. For Dawodu, it's 5 out of 5, his last 5 that have went to decision. So, oh, dude, I think that music's even better. Yeah, and I mean, if you're not fired up now, you're not keyed up now, we got a main event to talk about. The only 2 quality mixed martial artists on this card, Vicente Luque, Rafael Dos Anjos, black belts, both of them, veterans, both of them, definitely studs, top 10 guys. What Josh Parisian is to the heavyweight division, you don't see any similarities in what Luque and Dos Anjos are to the welterweight division.
Dude, we need like an intro to Stat Diggers, and this is the intro. This music, that video in the background, I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
With generic StreamYard music behind it, I absolutely love it, man.
Heck yeah. Max
Awesome.
bet, Josh Parisian. Bucket.
Yeah.
We're
gonna bring home the units this week, baby. I'm getting all those 8 units back on a 5-unit max bet on Parisian at plus 160. Let's go. It's a sure thing, ladies and gentlemen. And then if I lose, Brady, I could just come back next week on Stat Diggers and be like, hey, look, you saw the fucking hype video. You You would have made the same bet. You would have made the same mistake. So don't blame your Uncle Weezy. It's never our fault, Brady.
Never. But yeah, I won't be betting on Josh Parisian, but I'll have to root for him after something like that. Seeing something like that really makes you want to root for a guy.
I know. This is great stuff.
It is, man. I love it. All right, let's move on to the main event here. We have Rafael Dos Anjos going against Vicente Luque. We'll start with Vicente Luque, 31 years old, 5'11" with a 76-inch reach. Rafael Dos Anjos, 39 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Luque is 7 years younger with a 3-inch height advantage and a 6-inch reach advantage as well. Vicente Luque is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Randy Brown, a submission win against Tyron Woodley, a submission win against Michael Chiesa, a decision loss to Bilal Muhammad, and then a knockout loss to Jeff Neal. As far as RDA, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss to Michael Chiesa, a decision win against Paul Felder, decision win against Renato Moicano, a knockout loss to Rafael Fiziev, and then a submission win against Brian Barberena. So this fight kind of confuses me. I mean, this is a fight that I'm probably just going to stay far, far away from. I just have kind of question marks really on both sides. I mean, for Vicente Luque, like, I'm not even sure like he should be fighting. Like, apparently he had like a brain hemorrhage, which is like brain bleeding after the Jeff Neal fight. He took some time off, but he hasn't fought in about a year. So, hopefully he's coming back, healthy, ready to go, clear to go. But I mean, that doesn't sound good to me. And I'm not a doctor, so I don't have any experience in terms of the medical stuff. But my wife, she is a nurse. And I did ask her, I said, is a brain hemorrhage bad? And then she said, and I quote, yes. And I was like, okay, that's what I thought. So she helped me out a little bit on the medical stuff. But that's sketchy, man. I mean, Vicente Luque is a guy that, first of all, he's one of my favorite fighters. Like, this guy is never in a boring fight outside of the Bilal fight. But this guy is always taking a ton of damage, and he's one of those guys where I thought he'd never get knocked out. There's some guys where you're like, he's never getting knocked out, like the Marlon Veras, the Max Holloways. But the time will come, and the time came last time against Vicente Luque. He's always taken this damage, and he's always able to battle through it. But Jeff Neal was the first person to put him out, and put him out did he ever. I mean, he knocked out Vicente Luque so bad that even Keith Peterson had to stop the fight.
Yeah.
Which
yep.
that is bad. So he's coming off of, first of all, Luque's taken a ton of damage throughout his career. He took just a life-changing damage against Jeff Neal, getting knocked out. He had the whole brain hemorrhage, the brain bleeding, just less than a year ago at this point. So, what is Vicente Luque going to show up and look like? On the flip side, you got RDA, who is just so small for welterweight. This guy's 5'8" at welterweight. Like, there are flyweights that are bigger than this guy. So I think RDA at 155 is an absolute beast. But at this point of his career, he's almost 39. It's just a fight I kind of just want to stay away from, Weezy. I feel like RDA could potentially win minutes, but the size kind of scares me here. And then Vicente Luque, like, the health issues scare me. I don't think I'll be betting on this fight. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight? I think it's going to be fun, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, we kind of feel like I'm missing information, even though they're the two most experienced fighters on the card, because, yeah, coming back from a brain hemorrhage, look, Luque had never been knocked out. I remember I bet on Jeff Neal that week, and when Neal knocked out Luque, I could not believe it. I didn't think I would ever see Vicente Luque get knocked out. And not only did he get knocked out, he got knocked out violently. And I'm not surprised that he had brain damage after that, because Luque is one of the most durable dudes on the planet. So in order to get him out of there, you need to like shut his body down so that his will doesn't take over and keep him in a fight, because he's been in so many of those types of wars. I bet the over 4.5 rounds here. It opened at minus 135. It went to minus 160, and then it bounced back to plus 105. And it's more of a data play, but these guys have only been finished in their combined 13 UFC losses, have only been finished a total of 3 times. So they're both very durable historically. And if you look at the numbers here for this one, the over 4.5 rounds, at plus 105, you're talking about a 49% implied probability, but over 54% of fights that are scheduled for 5 rounds in the welterweight division go over that number. And then Vicente Luque's only 5-round fight went over 4.5 rounds, and 8 of 13 fights for Rafael Dos Anjos went over 4.5 rounds. So 9 of 14, 64.3% of their combined fights are going over that number when they're scheduled for 5 rounds. And we're only paying 48% on the line. So yeah, there's definitely some concerns about Luque being able to knock out RDA, about RDA, maybe getting a knockout or the brain hemorrhage for Luque being something that we can't count on his durability anymore. But the data likes it. And I could see RDA being like, you know what? Don't really feel like striking with Vicente Luque. So I'm going to do what everybody else who's beaten Vicente Luque, except for Jeff Neal, has done, which is grapple him. And we know we can count on RDA to grapple, and then he can eat up a bunch of minutes doing exactly that. And then you stay safe on the feet. So I'm hoping it cruises over 4.5 rounds. I've got 1 unit on it at plus 105. But yeah, I think Luque is going to be a lot more dangerous here, but I'm not putting any money on the money line here because I think that we need to see where Luque's at. 1 year off, brain hemorrhage. And I mean, I'm not a doctor either, so we'll go with what your wife said, Brady. And she said yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't know that. I thought the Greeks, I actually think, believe that brain hemorrhages can be good luck, so I didn't know that, but evidently it's bad. So we've got the medical professional confirming that for us, and that's not something that we take lightly here on Stat Diggers. We try to give you all the available information. And even here, you're getting a sneak peek into the medical secret that brain hemorrhages are bad.
Yeah, I mean, I figured it was bad, but once I got it confirmed, I was confident to come on here and say that it is bad as well. So some interesting thing to note, and we're going to hear this a lot throughout the week. Vicente Luque has never closed as an underdog. And right now he's an underdog. I mean, if he closes as an underdog, plus 100, plus 105, it'll be the first time ever in his UFC career. So yeah, RDA minus 120, Luque plus 100. I don't think I'll be betting on this fight. Like typically, I will look to bet Luque finish only props because this guy's durability. But with everything considered, probably not this week, and it's probably going to be juiced to the tits anyway. So I think I'll just sit back and watch this one. I think it's going to be a great fight, but I don't feel like betting on it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I already got the 1 unit on the over 4.5, and I highly doubt there will be any more units put on this particular fight. But it's a good main event. We're going to find out, if Luque can bounce back from that horrific beating he took from Jeff Neal a year ago.
Yep, and we have a first-time listener, Fred Hurst Edge Bono, saying, y'all didn't know a brain hemorrhage was bad? WTF? I mean, I guess we didn't make it clear enough that it was some sarcasm, but...
Oh, actually, Brady, I had no idea. No, I really do believe that it's good luck. And, okay. If your wife hadn't... And look, I'm not saying that it's not good luck. I'm just going to defer to your wife because she's the medical professional and I'm not.
Okay. So one of us was being sarcastic, but you are right. Weezy was a little bit unsure.
I had no idea. Yeah.
So we did this breakdown in record time. Typically I like to leave around 2 hours. So I feel like it's only right if we bring up this, and I kind of want to see, why didn't I bring it up? It's only right we bring up this classic, and we add the StreamYard music to it. Let's enjoy. Shout out to Alexander Romanov. He's got his black belt, didn't he?
Did he?
I think he got his black belt in his last fight.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. When the guy's positional control is phenomenal.
Yeah. Look at him.
Right. New logo, you guys. It's Jamal Hill.
The pictures are so old. He posted this recently.
Oh, man. Can you show like the thing with him doing the?
Of course I can.
Yes.
Trying to get some good music. Ooh. What is it?
It's always funny and I see professional, high-level athletes working out, and I'm watching it going, oh, I could do that. I could do what Romanov does,
Dude, he wants to run through 2 walls. I'm right there. I'm going to run through my window right now. What else we got here? Like a hip-hop beat.
Yeah, pretty minimalistic. Not bad. Yeah,
dude,
there we go.
This is hilarious. The actual music to this is like, oh, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. It's like, I wish I could play it, but you can't.
Yeah, that would absolutely be a copyright infringement if we played that one.
Living on a prayer.
It's like he's from New Jersey, this guy Romanov.
Yeah, shout out to I can't wait to see him back in here. But enough of that. It was a looks like rehab. Maybe. I don't know what he's doing.
Could be. You never know, man.
That's why he's so good, though. It's those resistant bands. I mean, they help, man.
They definitely do. He looked fantastic last time out, that's for sure.
Yep. So we did it, Weezy. We went through all, what do you have, 12 fights on this card?
I think 12, yeah. We lost the Blackshear versus Heastand fight, which would have been a fun one, man. I was kind of leaning Brady Heastand's been a money train for me, but I was kind of leaning Blackshear there. I think he's really good. But yeah, that's a shame we lost that one. That was a good one. But like I say, man, we just got to find some ways to win some money on this card, and it'll be a great card.
Let's do it. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you in your plans for this week for some content for UFC Vegas 78.
Yeah, check me out on my channel Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. Just a tip with Uncle Weezy. We'll go through all of these fights. We'll find an ass shaving of the week, maybe even put together a prize picks parlay for that one. And then Wednesday night, Ask Weezy. Wednesday night, also on Pub Sports Radio with Brady, Monk, and Gordo. We do the DFS show. There's not going to be any probability this week. I'm trying to put the finishing touches on my prize picks template, and going to start doing some content for prize picks, underdog, and bet online over-unders for different prop markets than we're used to seeing. So, but other than that, man, I'm looking for a nice bounce back week this week. I'm not going to push it. Going to try to exercise good bankroll management here and start chipping away at the loss that I put on myself last week and start getting out of that hole.
Yep, let's do it. Let's do it. I don't have any bets yet thus far. I think you have one bet, so we'll see if any spots stick out throughout the week. Ron saying, Brady, you doing Contender Series content? Yeah, so I have one fight taped. I'm gonna tape the 3 fights tonight, and I'm gonna tape one fight when I wake up, and then I'll be getting out a full Contender Series breakdown tomorrow afternoon. And then I'll be doing some more Dana White Contender Series content as well. So which I like doing it, but my goodness, 5 extra fights. We are in a 17-week stretch, and this is like the 11th week in the stretch.
I lost count, dude. If you could tell me it was the 3rd, I'd be like, yep, that sounds right.
Yeah, so it's wild, man. Lots of fights. We're not going to get a break until I think mid-September or even late September.
Yeah, we need a break, by the way.
Yeah.
We need one, and this card is not a great card, but like I say, hey, if they put 17 weeks back to back, we're going to do 17 weeks of content back to back, and we're going to grind every damn week and try to come out plus units.
Yeah, I mean, to motivate me, I watch this every single day.
That's how you got to wake up, whatever it is that gets that blood flowing in the morning. That motivation is key.
Yeah, so just keep motivated. We'll keep chipping away. You guys can find me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. Best of luck for UFC Vegas 78. We'll talk to you guys very soon and see you later.